My mom gave birth to me 4 days before her 17th birthday. And so she was a young girl, and she projected a lot of that trauma onto me. My mother had like this, just a rage towards me this day, and I remember her kicking me down the hallway and choking me and slapping me. And the worst part about this was not the physical part of it, because that was normal for me at that time. It was afterwards she took a Polaroid picture of me crying. And I don't remember her exact words, but I remember her shaming me. And I couldn't figure out what it was that was so wrong with me, that why, especially at that age, why did I deserve this? I was molested by one of my siblings' father. He took me into his bedroom, closed the door, and then I remember questioning in my mind, like, why did he close the door? He asked me to pull down my pants, and I remember pulling down my pants and then my underwear, and he just looked at me for a while. And then he touched me. I eventually told my mom, and she didn't believe me, which made it worse. I felt guilt around it, that I should have somehow, I should have known better. I knew that I was suicidal. I was a cutter. Once I was hospitalized for swallowing an entire bottle of my aunt's prescription pills. I didn't feel that there was any worth to my life, and then, you know, who would care whether I was here or not? The best way that I've been able to understand my capacity to murder another human being is that I didn't value my own life at the time, so I couldn't value the life of another human being.
A human child knows it's not loved, he or she, if they're beaten, or if they're just simply neglected, ignored, abandoned. The men that I worked with in the prisons had suffered all of these forms of child abuse to a degree I've never seen in any other setting. And to say they were dominated by shame is to say they didn't have pride or self-love. Whether it's homicidal violence or suicidal violence, people resort to such desperate behavior only when they are feeling overwhelmed by shame and humiliation.
I grew up with 3 brothers and a father that drank a lot, and I was probably bullied the most by my dad. He ruled with intimidation, you know, and fear. I was always scared when Mom said, "You're in trouble, and I'm gonna tell your dad." I knew I had an ass whipping coming, and that meant he was gonna hit me with whatever he had close to him, you know, whether it was a fan cord he ripped out of the wall or his belt. I was shy, I was quiet, I was always in my head. I just felt terribly alone. The only culture where I felt like I belonged a little bit was in the drug culture. When I found it, I was 12 years old, I started smoking weed. At first because of peer pressure, but I soon liked it because I didn't have to feel the way I always felt. And I moved on to harder drugs. My world changed when I picked up a gun. Became a whole lot more violent. People around me started dying. You know, the guy I killed, we had conflict. I had been accepted in this drug culture when he didn't pay me. I thought, my homeboys know if I don't do something to this guy, everybody's gonna take whatever I have, play me for a punk. That's the story I was telling in my head. And I just felt all the fear and anxiety and everything else I had bottled up in me just burst. And I shot him 6 times. And I ran. I think that was the first time I ever felt like I had power. For so long I had felt so powerless in my life. That was a moment I finally stood up for myself. But it came at such a huge price.
If you're told from day one, don't let nobody disrespect you, and this is the way you handle it as a man, respect is linked to violence.
Boys are trained to externalize our pain. When something bad has happened to us, we need to do something bad to somebody else. Avenge the humiliation that we've suffered, the shame that we've experienced. To me, that's such a basic and incredibly important part of what is going on in the violence pandemic in our society.